Alright, so welcome back to Everdell once again for another flavor text. This one is for Spirecrest, and it's a little bit longer than the first flavor text for the Everdell, the base game. So I thought I'd get started with that and do this one on on a separate video since it's a lot longer. So let's get started. It's from the Journal of Torn Hair. It's excerpts from the Journal of Torn Hair. And the first one is on the 7th of Hope Watch. A fool's errand. Those words echo in my ears as we take shelter from a late winter storm. We are only 7 days into our quest, and already the weight of what we are hoping to accomplish is heavy upon us. We have left the comfort of our homes to venture into these wild lands, seeking aid from a king who some still insist is only a legend. My companions are stout and hardy critters, but I recognize the seed of doubt in their eyes. Our needs cannot be ignored. It will take months to rebuild from the carnage left by the tornado and the dangerous shortage of food from the drought. If the bitter frost of this winter continues, there will be little time to grow and harvest new crops this year. I must remember the words that my father told me. You were never meant to follow in my prince, Torin, to live a comfortable life as a shopkeeper. You were born for greater things. Go with my blessing. I will be watching every day for your triumphant return. I think I will encourage Chibblesqueak and Rose with a song. Chibs, in particular, has a droopy tale about the weather. It will do my heart good as well. A tune to help us muster our bravery once more. 19th of Hope Watch. I knew my rabid instincts about that map were Seller were correct. He pressed us to buy a map with a so-called shortcut, and Chibs, eager to avoid any more freezing rain, paid the high price in shinies. The whole business smelled foul to me, but seeing as how Chibs is an official member of the Cartographers Guild, I begrudgingly decided to trust his judgment. The map led us along a wayward and treacherous path, thick with foliage, made damp by the continued onslaught of biting, cold rain. It was approaching sunset when we broke from the undergrowth, only to nearly topple into a deep canyon stretching out before us. Finally, Chibs admitted the map was ludicrous and hurled the cursed thing into the canyon. Then Rose spotted a bridge. It was a rope and plank structure, clearly ancient, and I was about to declare that it was not worth the risk when she plunged ahead. In short order, she was safely on the other side, where she announced that there was a dry hollow in which we could take shelter. I encouraged Chibs to go second, knowing that if I left him for last, he might never follow us. I could see his tail trembling the entire way. I swallowed my own trepidations and began the crossing. A shrill wind blasted through the canyon, swaying the rickety bridge. I folded down my ears and pressed forward, refusing to imagine my body breaking upon the rocks far below, and then floating lifeless down the river. Safe in the dry hollow, we were finally able to laugh at ourselves for trusting, of all critters, a weasel to give us directions. 22nd of Hope Watch. The day began wet and dreary as we plodded along the mist-rised trail. I don't know how many hours we spent wandering through that shrouded valley, taking wrong turns and getting our fur positively soggy. We were in quite a sour mood after midday, and decidedly lost. Rose scaled a tree to discover that we had only progressed a short distance from where we'd started. Chibs plopped to the ground and nearly started to weep. Then finally, a rare bit of luck. A cardinal spotted Rose and landed for a chat. We were overjoyed to discover that this fine bird was actually a trail guide. He generously offered to help us. In no time at all, it seemed we were out of the mist and resting happily on a grassy knoll at the other side. We told the trail guide of our quest, and he suggested that we seek out a famed mountaineer of the area, who he said frequented a nearby traveler's inn. 23rd of Hope Watch. The inn was a prominent establishment just off the main trail, aptly named Wayward's Way. The tables were busy with a colorful assortment of mountain folk. We learned from a rather plump hedgehog that no one knew the real name of the mountaineer, but that the locals called him Grim. A grinning prospector claimed he could help us find Grim for a price. We declined. It was getting late, and the innkeeper generously put us up in a room with a hearth and 3 dry beds. It had been weeks since any of us had felt a straw pillow against our whiskers. The next morning, we were surprised to meet a frowning red panda, who appeared to be waiting for us. So this is it? I've seen stouter critters than you to brave these peaks, never to return. Grim downed a mug of something. I will take you to Stormvale. The owls may know where you can find the keen, but you are on your own after that, if any of you are still alive. Month of Mistrise. Finally, Grim has allowed us to rest and to light a fire. I can barely write. My paws are so frozen. This Belson Trail is a miserable road indeed. I do not know the actual date. Grim has been driving us so hard, even demanding that we travel through the night at times. Does he never tire? The cold! Oh, it is so miserably cold here. Hopefully Rose can light the twigs we carried with us. I'm sure that Grim would have some trick to get a fire going, but we aren't about to ask him. 3rd of Mistrise. I was convinced that Grim was going to drive us to our deaths, but by some miracle we survived the frigid road of the Belson Trail, and then the treacherous climb up to the Tower of Stormvale. The glowing beacon at the tower's peak was certainly a light of hope for us. The owls gave us a warm welcome, and delightful feast, and very comfortable lodgings. Grim was gone before we even noticed that he had left. Sadly, for all their wisdom, the owls do not know where Keen Run is. They say that if anyone has seen him, it would be the great eagle Windlore. An eagle? It will truly be astonishing to see this Windlore for ourselves. For now, we will enjoy our time of rest in Stormvale. I hear that there is a library. I hear that their library is magnificent. 9th of Mistrise. Windlore told us quite happily that he had seen Keen Run, just recently in fact, as he was soaring over the ruins of Spire. He offered that we could ride upon his back. How could we decline? The flight was truly most exhilarating experience of my life. I think that Windlore took a certain delight in scaring us with his divings and swoopings. The weather darkened before we arrived at the ruins, and streaks of lightning forced us to land. Windlore told us that the ruins were not too far ahead, and that we could make our way to them easily enough once the storm had passed. The eagle wished us well, gave us a wink, then leapt and soared away. 10th of Mistrise. The paths leading up to the ruins of Spire are treacherous. The spring thaw has created icy rivers that carve over and around the stones. Rose fell and injured her left arm. It is clearly causing her pain, but I do not think it is broken. I believe that her pride was hurt more. We are beginning to see some of the ancient settlements. Perhaps someday I will return here to explore them more, But for now, we must press on. The quest at the forefront of our minds. There was a time today that I felt a strange presence, like we were being watched. Yet when I turned around, we were alone. 11th of Mistrise. Astounding! We have reached the heart of the ruins of Spire. From here we can see Everdell Valley as a green blur far in the distance. It is incredible to imagine that Corn Everdell himself may very well have stood in this exact spot. I had the same eerie feeling as yesterday, that we are being watched. We have now spent an entire day exploring the ruins, and still no sight of King Run. I begin to wonder if I am losing my mind. All throughout the day I was looking back over my shoulder, positive that I would find eyes upon us. I could not hide my intuitions from Rose or Chibs, and now I fear they are beginning to feel it as well. We have decided to remain here for one more night. If we have not found the king by the morning, then we will leave this strange place. 12th of Mistrise. We had a troubled sleep, convinced that we were surrounded on all sides by serpents or ghouls. When dawn finally broke, we nearly jumped out of our furs at the sound of a deep voice. We spun to find ourselves staring up at a towering mountain ibex. King Run himself. He wore a weathered crown between his long curved horns. His muscular frame held his stature tall and strong. His eyes were ancient and wise. We bowed low before him. He said that he had been watching us for days now, and told us to speak our names and state the purpose for traveling into his realm. I did so, trembling in his presence. After a moment of silence, with those deep eyes staring into each of us, King Run answered, "Not only is your bravery admirable, it is inspiring. You have climbed to the top of your world, risking your fur to seek aid from giants. Woe to me, woe to all critters, if I, King Run of Spirecrest, should let you return without promise of hope and help. We will help you, as best we can. More than that, I shall descend to visit your king myself, to see what may be done." Jibs could not contain a squeal of excitement. My heart was pounding. "As for you three, your journey is not yet complete. You must travel onward to the ridge and visit the cities found leading away from that road. Speak with the leaders there. Tell them I have sent you. Many of them are critters unfamiliar to you in Everdell, but they are all good-hearted." He told us the safest route out of the peaks and how we could find these foreign cities. Chibs took copious notes and drew maps, then showed his work to the king, who nodded approvingly. "You may have what it takes to become a famous cartographer one day, Chibblesqueak of Everdell." I think Chip's tail grew longer when he heard this. The king said, "I see there is more, though, in your hearts. There is a yearning for something, is there not?" Rose stepped forward. I was surprised to see that her eyes were moist. "I have lost all of my family," she said. "There is nothing left for me in Everdell. I do not know where I belong anymore. I seek adventure, a purpose, a challenge. Is that wrong?" King Run shook his head. "Never is it wrong to better understand one's purpose in this world, young Wild Rose. Should you decide to remain in Spirecrest, you will find adventure. You may even find great wealth. But know this: purpose does not come far from outside, but from within. Whatever you may gain in this life, it will not satisfy. It is what you give that will begin to make the difference you seek." Rose stepped back, looking down at her injured arm. She said no more after that for quite a long time. "And you," the king said, looking at me, "I can see the wanderlust in your eyes. Torn hair, you are not content to remain in Everdell either, are you?" "I had a comfortable life in Everdell, full of simple work, But I realized that my father was right, that the king was right. How many hours had I spent gazing up at these peaks, writing in my journal, dreaming and wondering? One day, the king said, you may find yourself leaving this land to seek another, not unlike your hero of old, Corin Evertail. My father spoke similar words to him when he passed through here many years ago. I was truly humbled to be compared to Corin Evertail, even in this small way. I stood speechless, pondering the implications of what the king was saying. Then he laughed lightly. But let your hearts not be troubled by my words. You must continue on your quest, and I must make my way down into your beautiful valley. Go, my brave little friends. Go onward, and may your journeys be blessed. First of Starfall. I still remember his words, though it has been months since he spoke them to me. King Run was right. There is a calling within me, a stirring for something more, something beyond. Rose did return to the mountains, and last I heard she had found great wealth exploring caves. I hope she will remember the king's words. Chibs was so inspired by the king's approval of his map-making skills that he formed a cartographer's caravan to create an atlas of the entire world. He was never one for small ambitions. I find myself gazing upon a sparkling blue sea, ready to board a vessel that will take me across to an unknown destination far beyond. But the destination is not what drives me. It is the daily travels, the surprises and delights, the challenges and heartbreaks, the wonder and the imagination in every breath of every moment. The journey is the destination. The distant shore awaits. And so that's the entire flavor text of Everdell Spirecrest. See, that was pretty long. Much longer than the very first one, for sure. Alright, and that's it for this video. See you guys next time.